everybody. Welcome to the Light Gate. We have to ignore the banner for now because we have a no-show guest. I hope he's okay, and I hope everything is going well with him, and we'll work on that later. Tonight, you're going to watch a Q&A open mic. So if you all have questions, get ready. Put them down in the chat, and we'll start looking. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Roku, Facebook, YouTube, and many other platforms. I hope it's all going to be good tonight. You know, sometimes you trip a little bit and then you move on. So we're moving on. So, hi, Preston.
Yeah. Hi, Dolly. Okay. It's a little bit of a technical hiccup there, but what are you going to do? These things happen.
That's right.
But either way, the show must go on. So thank you all for joining us on episode 45 of The Light Gate. We're really hoping to have Don Schmitt, Roswell UFO researcher, but for some reason we're not able to raise him. There's still some hope. We will see. But until then, we're just going to keep going. And yeah, my name's Preston Dennett. I'm your host. My lovely co-host is, of course, Dolly Safran, subject of the book Symmetry. And there is plenty of stuff that we can talk about today, so don't get too worried. I just put out a new book, so we can talk about that. And Dolly always has very interesting things to say. But first, let's say hi to all you guys in chat. And hopefully our guest might just pop in. You never know.
That's right.
But very excited to see all of you here. Hello, Aussie. So glad you could join us. And Renee, I see you put in a bunch of comments here. Looks like you're pretty excited today. Hello, Michael. Yes, I'm really hoping to get our guest on, but who knows? We will see. But it's awesome to see you here either way. And hello, Chris. Pause. Teen. And who else do we got? Got quite a few of you. Gosh. Okay, let's see. We have Allison Carr and Jamie Mashburn and Central Wisconsin. Hello, Fun Talks TV. Thank you for joining us. And Louise.
Hi, Louise.
Ogo Joe, Don Schmitt. Yeah, I really want to talk to him. Don't know what's going on. I'm going to try giving him another call in just a second here, because you never know. Namaste and your endless generosity. Thank you so much. We love you. And we truly appreciate all you do for us and our little show here. So thank you. And Michael Kennedy, yes, thank you very much. The book is doing pretty well. We'll talk about it. And yeah, definitely get your questions in, because looks like we're going to be doing a Q&A tonight. I might try to bring in a special guest if I can get a hold of them, but we'll see. Okay, who else do we have? Follow the Bear.
Hi, Kenny. This is my godson, by the way.
Oh,
Follow the Bear. That's my godson. Yeah.
And John P. Adventures. And Louise, yes, we do have plenty to talk about. Painting the Sky Kingdom. Hello, Jacques Dion. Thank you for joining us. Who else do we got here? Another Renee Rolette. And Mary R. and Rick Schatz. Thank you, guys. Just a Gen X dirtbag baby. Oh my gosh. We love you two so much. And yeah, Dolly's doing well. As you can see, she's all prettied up and looking fancy. Who else do we have here? Patrick. Oh, wow. Look at that. Hi, Patrick. How are you doing? And I think that's it in terms of people I can say hi to at this point, because we really do need to start the show. Hello, M. Garcia. All right. Yeah, I'm so sorry, you guys. Our guest was supposed to be Don Schmitt, Roswell UFO researcher. I know some people think Roswell is a dead horse that we're beating, but it's still the granddaddy of all UFO cases. There's a lot to learn from it, and hopefully we can get Don back, if not tonight, some other time. But until then, we're going to have to go on without him. So please do get your questions ready. And until then, I thought, Dolly, we could just start by talking about any recent paranormal experiences or my book. I don't know. What do you think?
I think your book is awesome. Why don't we do your book?
Okay. I wasn't prepared. All righty. Let me see. Gosh, I wanted to give him another call, but I guess we can talk about the book. Here it is, folks. Here, why don't I actually put it up on the screen? I can do that fairly quickly.
Yes, without the line through it.
Right. So give me just a second here and I will pull that up. But I can tell you that I am super excited. This is book number 5 of the Not From Here series, all about the stranger, more unusual cases that you don't often hear about, what I would call the outliers, cases with weird patterns and, cases that some researchers don't really want to talk about. So let me see. Do I have a copy of the cover? Here it is. Let me just pull that up for you. And I have some other images. So this might actually be a really cool show. All right. Let me just put up share screen window. There it is. Boink. Doink, as I like to say. This is Not From Here, Volume 5. And if you look at the cover there, and all the previous volumes have been different types of ETs. I was wondering what to put up because I'd already done grays, did a praying mantis, did a human-looking ET, and a reptilian. And Dolly had a really good idea, which was actually suggested to her by who? her ET contact. And this is a Anunnaki.
Yes, that's exactly how they really look.
Yeah, so
wings, you can't see his wings, it's just the bust, but it's cool.
But we got some true to life images. Yeah, and we got my sister-in-law, Kisara, to do a lifelike image of an Anunnaki. And this is really cool. And we also put sacred geometry around the border of the book because all the books do have things like alien faces and star clusters and crop circles and little UFOs. So it's part of the theme of the whole series. But yeah, that's the book, Not From Here, Volume 5. For those of you who can't see it, you can check it out on Amazon and stuff because it shows a really cool image with this Anunnaki with his long beard and a kind of a crown and these really piercing sky blue eyes. It's a gorgeous rendering done by, again, my sister-in-law. Okay. So let me see. What do we have in the book that we can talk about?
Well, you know my favorite story in the book, right?
Well, I'm not sure, Dolly. You'll have to remind me.
Okay, basically it's a man and his son, and it's 2 boys and they met in a field. That's the one. That's the one in the book, right? They went outside to look at something and they were in a field across from each other. Yes?
It's not ringing a bell, dear.
Oh, it's in the book.
2 boys in a field?
2 young boys were outside, and one was in the house and looked out and ran out to see it, and the other one was out in the field where he lived, and they saw exactly the same thing.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. That sounds like it's from another book.
No way.
I really don't know.
Start reading titles, the chapters. I'll tell you.
Well, yeah, let's just go down some of the chapters, and you guys can tell us what you might be interested in. So Chapter 1, I cover cases in which people have seen not 1 or 2 UFOs, or even 3 or 4 at once, or even 5 or 10, or even 20, but cases involving 50 or more UFOs. These cases are exceedingly rare. I got my own very early on in my research when there was a wave of sightings over Topanga Canyon, and a lot of people were seeing UFOs on one night, June 14, 1992. And some people were seeing 1 or 2 craft, some were seeing 3 or 4. A couple saw 5 or 10 or 20, but one couple who lived very high on the ridge started counting the craft. And this went on all night. They saw 10 objects come up behind a ridge. It would stop for 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, then 10 or 20 more would come up. And after this happened the third time, they started counting it. Well, this went on for over 2 hours. In fact, they got so upset, they actually went inside and went to bed. They didn't want to see anymore because they had counted, get this, over 200 objects. And I went up to their house, I interviewed them and talked to them at length. And when she said that, the wife, I call her Catherine, the husband said, well, I don't know if it was really 200. It might have been closer to 100. And she started objecting, and I started laughing my butt off because to me, 100 or 200 at that point, that's still a lot. So either way, it's mind-blowing. And he admitted, well, no, she's probably right because she was counting and I wasn't. So that was the first case I found. And after running into a couple of others, I found several cases. So we can definitely talk about that. That is chapter 1. Another is super interesting, which I would love to talk about actually, which is I call calling all UFOs. And this is about 2 cases primarily that I researched back. Gosh, these were some of the first interviews I did. Right after interviewing my family and friends and coworkers, I started networking out. And my father, who worked in the movie business, knew a gentleman who worked for NBC as a set designer, a set dresser. And he had done this production publicity stunt for NBC on the lawn of the George Page Museum, the La Brea Tar Pits in LA, where they set up a peacock's tail, turned it on, and UFOs showed up. I got another case like that, several others where people basically call down UFOs. So I don't want to get into too much detail because we can go back to that. Here, let me pull this down. And that is basically what chapter 2 is, all about how close encounters of the 5th kind, human-initiated encounters, began, because those 2 cases were instrumental, as I can talk about in a little bit. What else do we got going on here? Another chapter I did, which I am so kind of tickled about, was one that I wanted to explore for a long time, and that is UFOs in the American sitcom. You may have noticed that on TV, shows like The Brady Bunch or I Love Lucy or, gosh, all of them, at some point or another, tackle the UFO subject. So I found about 30 or 40 sitcoms, because I'm a huge fan of sitcoms, that featured UFOs. And it was so interesting to see how they were presented, how they were treated, and what it has to say about our beliefs in UFOs and how it has evolved since the 1950s with the early sitcoms. Like, what was it, My Three Sons? Or, gosh, some didn't never tackle the subject at all, but some early ones definitely did. Green Acres had a really cute episode. A bunch of the early ones did. Beverly Hillbillies. And of course, the later sitcoms like Married with Children and Wings and Friends never did. Neither did Seinfeld or Big Bang.
Right.
But some major ones did. So that's what that's all about.
Yeah, the Flintstones did it too.
That's right. Oh, that's exactly what Rockstar is putting up.
Same.
So what else do we got? Another chapter is called The Twin Connection. I'd like to talk about this one actually, because Dolly, you can speak on this with some authority.
Yeah.
But I noticed, and I've got some great cases on that. but I noticed that there's a high incidence of twins among the contactee population.
Yes.
So that is something I decided to explore in more depth because I've interviewed some people who were twins who had encounters, some people who were pregnant with twins who had encounters, some people were pregnant with twins and lost one. It was, quote, missing.
Right.
It's called the missing fetus syndrome.
Yep. I'm a twin, and my sister was missing at birth. So,
yeah.
Yep.
So we can definitely talk about that. And what else? Oh, yeah. This is another one that, Dolly, you can talk on. And I think it's so interesting because there hasn't been much study on this, guys. This chapter is called An Alien by Any Other Name, kind of taking a quote from Shakespeare, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Well, it turns out that ETs do provide names to a lot of their contactees. And sometimes they're very long and hard to pronounce, and sometimes they're not, and sometimes they're very Earth-like. Dolly's been able to get some of the names from some of her contactees. Some of the names have some really interesting symbolic meanings. Some are the same names of ETs who are from different contactees who are widely separated in place and time, which makes me wonder if they're seeing the same ET. So that's another really interesting study. As far as I know, there's only been a couple of studies on it. So we can definitely talk about that. Oh my gosh, Heidi Hansen. I just adore you, dear. We're going to get you on the show one of these days. I promise. If you can stay up, that would be so cool to have you on the show because I'm reading your books right now and you've had some amazing experiences. But thank you so much for that beautifully generous super chat. Your goodwill and love is just so amazing. So thank you. Okay, I'm just going to go through the chapters so we can see what else we have to talk about. Chapter 8. You have been warned is what I call this one. And this is serious stuff. There's been a number of you who've been asking me over and over again to do a study on ET warnings, the messages that ETs give to people about the fate of our planet and our future. And as I've said it many times, and Dolly certainly understands this because she's gotten these messages, this is the number one thing they talk about. They're beyond, don't be afraid. We won't hurt you. And then they physically examine you and do a checkup and maybe heal you. And if you are not freaking out and you don't have missing time, this is when they will give you a tour of the craft and they'll bring you up to the engine room or to the place of movement, as Dolly's ETs call it, the helm, the control room, or the observation deck. But at some point, they'll sit you down and talk to you in depth and give you all kinds of guidance and information and, of course, messages all about future tragedies, the dangers of war and aggression, environment, pollution, all these sort of things. So I could have written a book about that, but it would be such an enormous project that I decided, you know what, time is of the essence. Let's get this out quickly. So I included a chapter in the book. It's the longest chapter in the book by far, and probably, I think, one of the most important. So we can definitely talk about that. And another one, gosh, I didn't want to go into too much depth about all these because I want to do whole, YouTube episodes on my channel so I can show you all the images. I really wasn't quite prepared for this, but we can certainly talk about anything. But chapter 9 is Aliens Abducted My Dog. Because people have asked me, are pets ever taken on board? And the answer, of course, is yes.
Yes.
They are. It doesn't happen a whole lot. And I've found almost no cases with, pet snakes or guinea pigs or cats. But dogs, yes. A lot of cases involving dogs. So I'm going to do a YouTube episode on that for sure. And it's going to be a 2-hour one, I'm telling you, because that's how many cases there are. I mean, just a huge amount. And the last chapter is one I actually did a YouTube episode about, but it was so fantastic, and I got so many new cases, and I've just learned so much more information that I had to include a chapter in the book. And Dolly is certainly aware of this. And I call this last chapter probably my favorite in the book, Alien Books. And these are cases where people have been given a book, often on the craft, but not always. And it's different in each case, but with some remarkable similarities as to what's inside the book and how it looks and the whole deal. I mean, it's fascinating. These are much more like Harry Potter books with, live holographic pictures and it can talk to you and interact. So these are not books as we would think of them, but certainly that's what they pretty much look like. So yeah, those are the cases in my latest book, Not From Here, Volume 5. Do check it out. It very quickly climbed the Amazon charts, and I'm so happy and humbled to say it actually reached #1. Stayed there for 2 days. Now it's bouncing around in the top 10 and 20. And it's still #1 in new releases, though I'm fighting with another book. What's it called? 4 Aliens and a Funeral, which I have to say sounds interesting, which is another, true life ET encounter book, which might be worth checking out. I'm certainly going to. But yeah, that's my new book. So I hope you guys find it interesting. Oh, wait, here is another donation. Thank you, Star Orchid. Thank you so much.
Aw, thank you.
Okay, now, Dolly, I'm going to give our guest one more chance. So I'm going to call him, put myself on mute, and just see.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the book. I want to talk about the book.
Okay, I'm just, I'm here. I'm just going to give him a call and put myself on mute.
Okay. One of the cool things about the book is a lot of people talk about the fact that it has some sort of a gem on the cover. In other words, the whole cover of the book is an actual gem. And most of them are blue sapphire. Mine is blue sapphire. I wear a blue sapphire on my hand to remind me of it. That's a real blue sapphire, and that's the color of my book. It's almost like a blackish blue. And it lights up. It shines light through the sapphire, and it's beautiful, and you can see the dimensions of it. That's the heaviest part of the book is that gem on the cover. And on the other side of the cover, it took a few years for it to happen, but they said I could design the back of my book any way I wanted to. And when I was about 19 or 20, I decided to put a blue dragon on the back of it. And Mama said, draw the dragon, and that's what's going on the back of your book. So I drew a dragon, and that's what's on the back of my book. And it's still there to this day. I love it so much. I haven't changed it, and I can if I want to, but I don't. It's there forever as far as I'm concerned. The book itself handles educating me. And those who have the book are offered the same opportunity. Anything you want to know, anything you want to learn will come up in the book for you, and psychically read what you want or need to know and start walking you through it and educating you in it. And it also brings up things that are plaguing us in life. Like every now and then I'll get a life lesson in there or a morality lesson in there. And it gives me things to think about or assimilate or learn to empathize with because I'm not doing it on my own. And that's pretty cool. And then the other thing that I find in the book from time to time is I'll start thinking about past lives. I remember a lot of them, but some I'm sketchy on. And it will take the time to bring it up to me and walk me through the process of regaining that memory on my own. And it's really a pretty cool process. One of them took me about a month, very slowly walking myself through in meditation and, lucid memory. And I got it. And I did not realize that it was an extensive life. In other words, this particular life, I lived a long time. I was an old woman. And I knew what happened to me in the end, but the rest of it was blank. And so I got to build back that memory into who I was and how I got here. And everything was very, very cool. It was cathartic. It showed me in this life things that I didn't address yet and come into. And that was very, very cool. I know that others have the book, ET Contacts, and they either don't talk about it or don't want to talk about it, and for reasons. And I wish they would. Hint, hint. If you've got a memory like that, let's hear it. And I think you're done, right, Preston?
I am. I couldn't get a hold of him, which is fine. Hope he's all right.
Yeah.
Either way, we've got some awesome stuff to talk about because I love this alien book stuff. So let's talk about that for a little bit, and you guys can give me a clue about what else you'd like to talk about. This has got some super interesting cases to it because what comes to mind for me is, of course, the Betty Hill case. And that is the ultimate UFO encounter. That's the one that really changed everything. It's a landmark case. If you haven't heard of it, I don't know where you've been, so I'm not going to go into too much detail because I'm guessing you guys know about what happened in 1961 to Betty and Barney Hill when they're driving through the White Mountains of New Hampshire, saw a UFO close up, ran back to their car, and by the time they got home, they were missing a couple of hours. Didn't quite realize it at first, but started to put the pieces together when they found weird shiny spots on their hood. Barney's shoes were scuffed up. Betty's dress was torn and stained, and other things. I mean, Barney and Betty were having dreams, nightmares about being taken on board. More dreams for Betty, kind of nightmares for Barney, who had much more fear about what happened.
Right.
But what's so interesting about their case, and if you're aware of it, you probably know this, but Betty asked for an artifact. She says, I want to take something with me. No one's ever going to believe this. They're going to think I'm crazy. And the guy who was her kind of main liaison said, sure, look around. What do you want? And she saw this book, which she described kind of like Dolly. It's blue in color. It's interesting, Dolly. They're often sort of blue. And it was a small, thin book. I think she said it was like 7 inches by 9. I got it in my notes here. But at any rate, she's like, well, this is what I want. And she opened it up, and there were white pages with weird symbols going down. She says, it wasn't Japanese, it wasn't Sanskrit or anything like that, not hieroglyphs, but along those lines. And this is when he said, okay, you can take it. Do you think you can read it? And she said, no, I can't read it, but maybe someday I can, and that's not the point. The point is, this will be my proof. And he said, okay. And so they're walking out to the door. The door's open, the ramp's down, and she's about to step on the ramp. And suddenly everyone's talking. And he says, stop a second. I need the book back. And he took it from her. And she said she was furious, absolutely livid. She said, that's my proof. You said I could have it. He said, that's the whole point. They don't want you to have proof. And in fact, we don't think you should really remember this immediately. And she said, well, I'm going to remember it. You cannot make me forget. You can take the book, but you will never, ever, ever make me forget. And of course, she didn't. So that is what's super interesting about that. But gosh, I want to pull up
cool.
that.
Can I tell the rest of that story? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Preston showed me the symbols that she drew.
Yeah, I want to find that. That's exactly what I want to see if I can find that.
When he did, it shocked me because that's a pilot's notebook, especially pilots who are still in training. I had one as well. And when we're getting ready to do maneuvers or learn something new, it's you have to do it over and over and over again until you got it, and they'll work you at it. And it cracked me up because it's a turn. It was the notes of how to do a turn. And when I saw it, I said, Preston, I know what this is. And I explained it out for him. I translated it. And we sent it to her, or her granddaughter or her daughter. I'm not sure.
Niece.
Niece, okay. And I'd love to hear it. Marsden, right?
Yeah, Kathleen Marsden.
Yeah, Marsden. And I'm waiting to hear back from her. I'm dying to hear what she says. Because that was real. I mean, I am qualifying it for her. She did see the book She really did. Those are real symbols that pilots use. Did you find it?
No, I didn't, but I'm going to find it. Gosh darn it.
I don't keep that stuff.
Because
I know Korea, but I don't.
if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to find it. But meanwhile, I can tell you that Betty Andreasson had a very nearly identical experience. Gosh, I want to find that so bad, Dolly. It's driving me crazy.
I know. It's okay. Don't obsess.
But, yeah, Betty Andreasson had the same darn thing happen. And Betty Andreasson was shown a blue book, again, blue book with glowing white pages, which is almost glass-like. Yeah. And she looked at it and there were all these weird symbols. Some she recognized from equipment on the craft. Others was just weird writing. And they told her that this is only for you. This is special information that only you would understand. It's not really meant for anyone else, which speaks to what Dolly said about all of this. But at any rate, they let her actually keep this at her home for quite some time. And she did. She showed it to her daughter, Becky, at one point. Becky confirmed this. She was never able to fully understand what it meant, but there's quite a few cases of these alien books. And in fact, Whitley Strieber had an experience like this as well, which I didn't put in the original YouTube video because I didn't know about it. It sort of slid under my radar there, but someone alerted me. He's like, hey, Whitley Strieber had this experience, and sent me the page of the book. And it was so interesting because he described it as having a jeweled cover and super magnificent looking, ancient at the same time as sparkling brand new. And also filled with all kinds of really interesting wisdom. This was in his book, The Secret School. Yeah. And more recently, he described seeing a blue book like Betty's, which he posted about on his blog, which he did get the information from. And it described a history of events on Earth and how religion and philosophy evolved into what we understand today from very ancient times, from pre-Egypt all the way up to the modern day. So lots of really interesting cases of that. And let me pull up my notes here because I know there's some other people who had this incredible experience. Jeff Selver, I remember here. Where's his stuff? Because his was one of my favorite. Okay, yes. Contactee Jeff Selver wrote a book called The Rising. And he's recently come out. He's a Canadian contactee. He's talking about his experiences publicly. I have his book. It's a truly amazing book, definitely worth reading. And he was 16 years old in 1993 when he came upon a friendly little gray who invited him on board, basically said, come into our ship, we'll bring you right back. And he did. He went on board. The Greys had a long conversation with him, talked about his life, said that he'd been chosen to work with them. They gave him a physical exam. He had a deeply spiritual experience in which he learned about his past self, his higher self, and then he was taken to another room to see a, quote, mystical book. And they showed him this book and they told him to touch it. And as he says, I opened it up and I could see the script. It glowed a metallic blue. There's that blue color again. But he saw red and yellow 3D holograms coming out of the pages that represented ideas that at the time didn't make sense to him. And he was trying to understand, and the Greys just said, look at the book. And he's thinking to himself, I can't read this. And then he said it almost gave him a download of information. And it was all about these strange and fascinating events. And finally, she slapped the book closed, and that was the beginning of the end of the experience. And it was some years later when it all started to come back to him. And he devoted the last chapter of his book to what he learned from this alien book. And it's so, so cool because it covers all these amazing concepts about how humans are much more than the physical body, about spirituality and psychic development, how to achieve physical levitation. How about that, Dolly?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Because Dolly's experienced levitation. A lot of contactees have, such as Whitley Strieber and Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
Bud Hopkins had cases where contactees learned to levitate. Quite a few cases. I've got several myself, not just Dolly. And that's the kitty. Oh, it's okay, Trixie. She's upset the guest didn't show up too. All right. But also how to heal yourself, how the universe is composed of light, the incredible power of love, and all these really deep and esoteric topics. There's so many cases like this. Oh my gosh. Richard Boylan. He's someone who I want to get on the show at some point. He wrote a book called Close Encounters, Benevolent Encounters, something like that, with his wife Lee K. Boylan. And as far as I know, it's really the first serious, modern book in terms of not past the contactee era to portray ET encounters in a benevolent light. And several of the cases did involve healings, but he had one case from a gentleman by the name of Mike who was taken on board, and a being brought out a velvet bag, and inside this bag was a book. And the book had 4 rows of 3, quote, Chinese type bright orange letters. And the ETs told him this is the book of truth, and that he knew its contents but had forgotten. And he says, like the other people who describe this, all these ideas came pouring into his head. And it took him years to decipher this, but it was about the balance of the universe, love of all living things, the peril of Earth, coming Earth changes. And he was told that when he turned 33, it would all come back to him. It didn't. It came back at age 35. But that's close enough. So yeah, these are the ET books. And there's some really interesting cases of this. Gosh, I feel like I'm doing all the talking, Dolly.
Oh, well, I like to talk too. Everybody needs to ask some questions. If you have something that's burning in your mind and you want to know an answer to it, ask. We will endeavor to answer you. And if we don't know, you'll know we don't know. Okay? But put it in caps so we can decipher it against everybody else's chatter and stuff like that. And it is the book. I want to make it a point about something because there's a message there in the books and not remembering. And that's basically not everybody is connected up with their higher consciousness, who they really are. Their physical mind is overriding everything, and it's not listening to consciousness, which knows everything about you because it is you. And if you're quiet enough and can use your abilities enough, you'll be able to connect up with yourself, and then it'll all flood you like crazy. You'll know who you are. All your memories will come back, everything. It's a pretty cool process. So give it a shot. That's what that's about. Everybody has a book, absolutely has a book. Every single person in the universe has a book, and it lives in the Akashic Library. And so to speak, you can take it out if you're conscious and handle it. And it goes back to the library, but you can touch it, look at it, and do all kinds of things with it. It's facilitated to me on board craft. You have the ability to bring it to me. One of the reasons I'm not allowed to take it home is it's got so much information in it. In the wrong hands, it would be bad. And we all know that people here like to use information to do bad things, so we're not going to go there. But yeah, that's ET's main wish. Wake up, learn to reach your higher self, your actual self. Let your physical mind open up through your pineal gland and make contact with yourself. And it's amazing. You'll start hearing the truth, and you'll know when somebody's lying to you. You'll know when the universe is which is very chatty, wants to talk to you, and you can hear it talking to you. You can learn from it. You can learn from anything that way. So give it a shot.
Yeah, I wish I could find the darn thing where I have all the pictures on this, but I wasn't prepared to talk about this. So
I know we live,
well,
we
but
live in a world. I want to go someplace with this. Preston is trying very, very hard to show you from his data. He has lots of data. He talks to thousands of people, and he writes a lot of the verbal or written uh, witness to what they've seen and done. And he doesn't alter it or change the narrative to fit something that he wants to talk about. He writes it as it is. And one of the things that I totally appreciate about that is that you're witnessing somebody who's got 99.9% good things and less than 1% bad. I mean, if you look at the world, we're 8.4 billion people right now. Okay. And out of that, the ones who are talking, only 0.101% are saying it's bad, and the rest of everybody else is going, "What are you talking about?" You know. But we live in a world where they're overriding the voices of witnesses who are saying it's right and saying it's wrong, and they're doling out misinformation. And it's important that you be able to discern the difference between who's talking and saying what. I want you to critically ask yourself 3 questions every day. 1, has ET ever attacked anybody here and they've got proof? No proof. They've never attacked anybody. They've only ever come here to give good news for people and to help them and join into, knowledge, use of tools and things like that. Some technologies like back with the Egyptians. They don't come here to ruin our lives. They're watching over us. Your mama takes you to the doctor pretty regularly when you're a child, and this for a reason, is to keep you healthy and happy. They're just doing the same thing. They're keeping their children, us, under wraps so that they can, help us when they can. There's no atoning for karma. We have lots of us do stupid stuff. I mean, I'm right at the top of the list for that. Okay, I got plenty of karma, trust me. But when I've needed real help and it didn't play into my karmic need for lessons, they would fix me and pull me out of the hole. It's like having guardian angels all the time. And y'all talk about, there are religions who know guardian angel, guardian angel. I got this for you. Those are ETs. They're dimensional ETs, and they watch you, they follow you, they're your friend, they will help you in times of crisis. They're here, but they don't want you to know the truth about that. You got to ask yourself, am I living in a society where I know what's really going on, or am I living in a society and witnessing and hearing and doing things that I'm told to do? If you watch TV long enough, you're going to want to buy this or buy that or go here or go there. And you don't spend any time on learning for yourself and exploring who you really are and witnessing to yourself that you need to learn certain things and join in the learning of it and become wise. Most people running around doping, drinking, acting fools and not learning about what's really going on. Half the people I know now have no clue about science or writing English. They don't know who was president 20, 40, 50 years ago. No history whatsoever knowledge. Things that they should foundationally know, they don't know. That is frightening. Why? Because society is teaching you to not know. That's a thing. Why? Ask yourself why every day. And what can you do about it? Start researching yourself. Be a Preston. Go out and read. Watch for stuff to come up. Learn science. Science is not something you have to go to school for. You can teach yourself every day. I do. Everybody else does. You can learn. They're armchair critics, okay? And they have a little bit of science, but they don't have the whole picture. It's like they have a narrow view. Broaden your view. That's all you got to do. And you'll start every day a little bit, seeing the truth, and it'll widen your scope of understanding. And that's what ET wants you to do. That's all.
All right. That's perfect, Dolly. Thank you. Now I've got a few things together. I've got all your questions ready to guys that you've been asking. I'm putting little stars on them. So I'm trying to just recover from the loss of our guest. So I apologize for that, but thank you for all these wonderful comments, you guys, and being so understanding. But I did find this, Dolly. I found what I was looking for.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, as you all know, Betty was able to draw what she saw under hypnosis. And thank you, Michael, for sending me in Messenger what I was looking for. But I wanted to get Dolly's translations. And as you can see here, Dolly was able to actually translate what these symbols are. Now, Betty had no idea, of course, but she was able to get a pretty accurate recall of these symbols here, which you can see looks like a little saucer one, then a curlicue with another little comma above it, what looked kind of like a slash with a dot going one way and then the opposite way. And it's a little hard to see with this screen size, but I think you can make it out. And you're right, one looks like a divide symbol, one looks like a face downturned, another is a, what do you call it, a percentage sign sort of, but little symbols that, you know, to us are fairly meaningless, but clearly have meaning.
Yeah, well, they're not meaningless. You know what's funny about this? Flight is flight, okay? And attitude is attitude. And when you're flying, your attitude in the air is everything, okay? You have apogee and perigee, you know, you have ascension and declination, and it translates all the way through, even to ET. So the first one is the ship, it's the ET craft, okay? And then the symbol, the darker line going up to the right, and the top line, nothing, it means this is a right turn. And then the next one is you're going to skip up first to turn. So when a craft is flying, skip up means here's the level, okay? And it's not speeding around or doing anything, right? When you see one in the air, they're generally bobbing and weaving or dipping like that. And it's because they're riding electromagnetic currents, okay? But to move, they have to skip up because all the emitters are right in here. And the difference between positive and negative attractors on a field line, that's either positive or negative. It's either going to attract or repel the craft, and they have to skip up to do it. So they punch down, they go down and skip up. And if it's a positive one, it's a skip up. If it's a negative one, they skip down. So you have to start in the turn, you have to skip up to start moving. And then you skip down because going down means you're pushing away from it. So you're making a right turn. So we're right-handed and left-handed, right? So if we're skipping down, we go to the right. If we skip up and only up to go, we're going to the left. This is the remain level sign. That means you pause for a second. Then there's a heads-up display with the pilot. You're connected with the craft, and you can see what the craft is seeing, everything. I don't even need to use my own eyesight. And the craft is bringing up a mental display of where I'm at, my attitude, everything that's around me. I take in all that information very, very rapidly. You do not move anywhere or do anything in atmosphere because you can hit it, knock it dead, knock it out with an EMP from your emitters. You can do all kinds of things. So you pause, okay, with the heads-up display, and you acclimate yourself to where you are. Then you skip up, and then you power up. And that means you go from battery to full nuclear charge. In other words, their burst of energy comes from a nuclear energy, not their batteries. And that means to power up. And they take off at speed. And its speed means 7,000 miles an hour. That's roughly 13,000 feet per second. And they can go that fast. So, and then full stop means you shut it down, you're on batteries, and you're again holding position. And that's what that means.
Very, very cool. And for those of you who might be interested, we also have, let me see if I can pull this up. 1 second. Oh, wait, that's not the one I wanted. Yeah. Okay, wait. It's not going to work, so I'm just going to take this off. But I want to bring up a picture here real quick of Dolly's book because I asked her to please do a drawing. Could you? And she very kindly did. I have it right here. So let me show you what Dolly's book looks like. What she tried to keep once, didn't you, Dolly?
Yeah, I tried to it. Made it halfway down, and it left my hands, disappeared. And when I came back up again, the next time I was going up, I was told politely that, nope, you don't get the book for a month. It was my reward for not listening. And the right side of the book is the emerald, the sapphire, excuse me. That's the binding of the book, and I chose that. And those are actually blades. I'm a terrible artist, just so you know. And
not too bad, actually.
well, fifth grade. And S is for Safran at the top, and the bars are just something I liked. They mean energy, and the crisscrosses are the binding, and the blades are the things like that. And then there's the dragon. So
All right. Well, let's just cover a few more cases about the ET books since we already started. And then I'll get to your guys' questions because I see a lot of really interesting ones. But some of you may have watched the YouTube episode I did on this. Like I said, I found a lot more cases. Here's one from David Jacobs, actually,
oh my
who had a
goodness.
really poignant case about a little girl who at age 11 was taken on board to interact with an apparent gray human hybrid. And she was taken to a room where there were all these books for different kids, different ages, all stacked in piles. And it was Carla, the witness, her job to sit with this hybrid child and just look through the books. These were mostly picture books. These are books from Earth. And I guess now they're alien books since they're on board a craft. But this fascinated me because, we have libraries here in our homes. Some of us, or certainly in every city pretty much, has a library. Well, UFOs have libraries too. And there's rooms dedicated to this. And that's true in this case. And the little girl was the hybrid girl was learning all about Earth life from these human books. And the witness had the impression the hybrid girl was a little bit sad because she really wanted to experience all this, but apparently couldn't. I don't know. Hard to say for sure. But there's a number of cases like this. There's another, also not in the video I did, from C. Lee Culver, a Georgia-based UFO researcher who interviewed a little boy who was having fully conscious experiences, would be taken on board, and mostly this was what it was about. He would be taken to a library room, shown these books about Earth, and mostly about the Earth's environment and the importance of taking care of nature and the value of nature. But he said that they would watch him read. And sometimes they give him little toys like Rubik's Cubes, little three-dimensional puzzle type things that he was supposed to solve. He had the impression they were testing his intelligence. But it was fully conscious encounters. He said he could always tell when they were coming for him because they'd give a little flash in the sky, or he would just know, and he'd go run inside. They'd take him, have him for about an hour or two, and put him back minutes later so he could go back running outside and play with his friends. And the only time that they didn't do that was one time he was out there playing with his friends, playing squirt guns. This is so interesting to me. And kind of a tangent, but still interesting. Ran back inside because he heard that they wanted him. They reached out to him, pulled him on board. Well, he still had a squirt gun in his pocket.
Oh no.
Yes. And he reached out and he squirted one of the grays, who screamed in surprise, was not happy about it, and they immediately put him back, and it was an hour or two later.
Yeah, they're kind of germaphobes. You know this, right? They're germaphobes. You have to be, it's not good. I'm not even allowed to bring juice on board, okay? Nothing. That's funny.
So yeah, I found a whole bunch of cases. That's why I wanted to do a chapter, because the one I did on my YouTube channel covered only half of what I found. And so many people wrote to me saying, oh my gosh, that experience that Dolly describes, I had exactly that. I know she's telling the truth because every detail she said is exactly what I experienced. And other people said, I have no memory, but I have this feeling that it was all about, the same concepts that most people are talking about. Spirituality for the most part, but morals and scientific stuff, really a wide variety. But usually described as having a blue kind of metallic surface, or jeweled, or something along those lines. So really cool. And I think it's just the neatest thing. And Dolly, you talked about how each of us actually do have our own book, right?
Yes, absolutely. Everybody's got a book. Everybody.
Right, in the Akashic Library,
Yes.
which reminded me of a dream I had when I started doing out-of-body experiences. I came upon this book, which was so vivid and had all these pictures of Earth that were three-dimensional. and landscapes and animals and people. And just, I called it the Book of Life when I wrote it down. And I always wondered about that when I started researching this.
Yep.
But to end this, one lady said that she contacted me. She says, well, I didn't have a UFO experience, but I did see a book during my near-death experience. I thought, oh my gosh, because people talk about the bleed-throughs and the commonalities between onboard experiences and near-death experiences. And this is one I've never heard anyone talk about. And she described the same darn thing. It is really, really cool.
Yeah. If you ever OBE, I want you to do yourself a favor. Go to the Akashic Library. Make the intention. And when you go in the front of it, when you first walk in these doors, to the right is a huge tree. It's living in there, but it doesn't have leaves. It has jewels on it. Sapphires, rubies, diamonds, emeralds, citrine, all kinds of different colored gems, okay? And one of my favorite things to do is to go in there and get my book and sit under the tree and read. If you come there and you see this woman sitting under the tree, it will be me. So give it a shot. If you can come in there and say hi. Seriously, I go there a lot.
All right. Well, why don't we get started with the questions? Because I see we've got about 20 lined up.
Right.
So
Okay.
now, do you have any questions at all? About
Anything.
encounters or out-of-body experiences or ghosts or
Right.
anything? The state of the world today. We'll be happy to do our best to answer them. And nothing is off limits. Even if it's controversial, we'll certainly try to talk about it. No politics.
Well, thank you. Can't do that. No.
No, that is something I can't do. I'm so sorry. All right. Here is a question from Country Boy. Will the ETs come out in the open without further abductions? You want to go first, Dolly, or shall I?
You go first.
No. All right. First, I'm going to say yes. Absolutely 100%. We can't hide the sky. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. I think it's inevitable because we're not alone in this universe. We live in a very populated universe. Just look at all the stars out there. It's clear we are not alone by pure logic. But the fact is, ETs have come out in the open over and over and over and over again and put on what we call displays. Now, they're not doing this in a way that's unequivocally conclusive and would shake the world to its core, but close to it. France had a wave that was undeniable in 1954, which was so intense, it electrified the country. I mean, there was no doubt. This was from October to November, with hundreds of landings, thousands, literally, sightings. It was going on daily. And there's case after case of these UFO waves. And then there's cases where small groups of people are seeing UFOs at schoolyards, perhaps, or drive-in movie theaters. But look at the Phoenix Lights. Look at Gulf Breeze. Look at Whitfield, Virginia. Look at Mexico City. Look at Belgium. Look at all these different areas. Topanga Canyon, which had waves. These are what I call a publicity stunt. The ETs are conducting a very vigorous and well-orchestrated and I think very carefully planned publicity campaign to announce their presence in a way so that when there is a worldwide landing, those who are ready for it will be able to handle it. And I think it is coming because if you talk to the contactees, a good number of them get this message that a day will come when the sky fills with craft. And most people who have told me this message, and certainly Dolly is one of them, are told that it's their job to help quell the fear, let people know that this is in fact a rescue, that we are facing an existential crisis, and it's time to go on board because you can't live on Earth any longer. Right. I've got case after case of this personally. There's many cases in the literature. Don't have a good timeline for this, but I think it's going to be within our lifetime. And yeah, I think that it will happen. And as far as abductions, it's another controversial term that I don't like to use anymore because I offend people who are having these experiences. Well, some people do look upon it as that sort of thing, a quote, kidnapping. Most don't. Most do have a lot of fear initially and feel like it was against their will. That's not unusual. But at some point, most, and I'm going to underline that, the majority feel like they did choose this, and that this is not something that is nefarious or that the ETs are out to hurt them or anything like that. There's disinformation, misinformation, and a lot of fear in this field. And that word is a buzzword, which a lot of contactees or experiencers, that's more the term a lot of people prefer, won't use. Some will. I'm not going to say that this is not how some people feel, because they do. But yeah, onboard experiences, I haven't gotten any in the past couple of years. Dolly can speak to that. I know she's chomping at the bit to do it. So, but before you do, Dolly, I better give out our call signs and take a quick caller ID break.
Okay.
Caller ID, or call it what you will. But yeah, just want to let you all know you're watching The Lightgate. This is episode 45. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran. We did have a scheduled guest tonight who was unable to appear. Hopefully we can reschedule him. We will see. But all is good because we're having a fantastic Q&A. I talked about my latest book, Not From Here, Volume 5. Covered the chapters very briefly, and the last chapter in some depth, alien bucks. So that's what we've been talking about. We're about to get to all the other questions. I was really long-winded on that last one, so sorry. But I wanted to let you all know that we are streaming live on United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana, and also the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM, as well as on Roku, and Facebook, and YouTube. So take it away, Dolly. Will the ETs come out in the open?
Yes, they will. Country Boy, right now, ET is not here. They are bugged out. They left, last of them, in 2022. If you see something in the skies now, it is not them. It is back engineered, and you need to think real hard about it. Let's not go there for the second. Let me tell you why, when they come back, what you're going to see. As Preston described, the sky will fill with light. Everything. They will be everywhere. They will come down. They will hit every street, every runway, every parking lot, every schoolyard, everywhere that you are, they will land. They will land in mass, and they will open the doors, and you will be told, get on now. Most of them you will see like me. I am a pilot, and there are a lot of us like me. You will see ETs who are taller than I am and more Nordic looking. You'll see ETs who are grays, tall grays. You'll see ETs that are quite possibly mantids, that type. You'll see Anunnaki actually coming back as well. You will see those that look like Horus, or like a dog looking or a cat looking one. Mostly like me, though. They're going to bring as many of us that are exemplify the human look, because you don't need to be afraid of what's happening. Trust me, when this occurs, we'll be off grid. There will be no power on this planet at all. It will be the Flintstones. You won't have any information. There will be no TV telling you they're coming. You will see them in the sky. That's your first message. You will hear them and you'll see them. They'll apply to you psychically. They will make it through to you. They will. They will tell you where to walk to, because you're not going to be able to go far on foot. And they will be waiting for you with open doors and open arms. And that's because you will know by then that this planet is unsurvivable at that point, and you need to get off and go with them. That's when they will come back. They are unable to help us now. Our magnetosphere is terrible. Our weather is going to get worse. There's going to be more catastrophes and calamities. And we got governments on this planet that, let's not even think about that, what they're up to. So yeah, yes, they will come back for us, and they are in the process of doing that. The reason is that it is unsafe now 100% of the time for them to be here. They can't ride the electromagnetic field lines of this planet. They are unstable. They drop, pop, and go away easily. They flash and go halfway around the planet at one time, and it will rip them up. They cannot be here. You can tell the truth of this in that weird things are happening to NASA and the government and other people who are sending craft, satellites. Now they got the moonshot, the first one they put up there. They're telling you that it skipped and it grabbed the foot and it knocked it over. We were having CMEs that week, and there was a lot of problems with transmission. And I think they had a transmission halt to the lander, and it didn't do what it was supposed to do, and it went over. The next mission is to the ISS. That's going to be interesting. They need to pick a day when we have no CMEs going on. The sun is very hot right now. It's in solar maximum, and we have things happening. So that's it. Please pay attention. If there's something in the sky and you don't know what it is, use all your discernment abilities. Ferret it out for yourself. What is that? Make sure that you understand that you're not looking at an ET. I'm telling you, they're not here.
All right. Well, there's some questions about that coming up, so we'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
Here, we got a lot of questions, so we might actually have trouble getting through it. I hope not, but let's do our best. All right. What do you think the jeweled cover represents? Asks Allison Carr regarding the books. And a second part of the question, which I'll get to in a second. I think the jeweled cover is exactly how we try to do it. Make it look cool, something that's eye-catching. I don't know. What do you think, Dolly?
It's energy levels of light. There's blue, and there's white, and there's red, and there's green and orange and yellow and everything. And every one of those colors represents a palette of energy and what's in that energy.
What is it made out of? It's not
They're
metal.
made out of real jewels. It's real jewels. Made out of jewels. Yeah. Mine has a real honest to goodness sapphire. So does Whitley's. Whitley and I talked about it. Yeah, it's a real jewel. I think he really, really wants to take it to a jeweler and have him, go, yeah. Neither can I. It's like, but I know it is. I'm fascinated with jewels myself, and I know a sapphire when I see one. I know a diamond when I see one. You can't fool me. And
well, I know what I'm going to do for my next book cover.
There you go. We have all kinds of interesting things going on. Yeah, but they're real jewels, and they represent a type of energy. Learning and serenity and peace are all blue energies. When you're learning, if you put yourself in a blue room, you'll learn faster. It helps you concentrate and relax and peace out so that you can learn. That's the most important color there is for learning and understanding.
Well, colors do have an impact. We know this.
Right.
All right. Alison Carr is also asking, do cats get taken?
Yes.
I scoured the literature for it, and I found a couple of cases. There was one from South America where his cat went missing for quite some time and then came back. He thinks it was taken, but I couldn't find a whole lot, Dolly.
Yeah, they can be on board. ETs actually like cats, strangely enough, but they're in an area where you're not going to see them out in the common places because cats are by nature very mischievous, very curious, and they don't want them exploring and doing things when they're in the middle of working with us. So they're held at bay, and that means they're in a room, they're being entertained by somebody else or something else, but they're on board. They really are. So,
which might be significant when you think about the Egyptians and how they worshipped cats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you also said that you saw capybaras on board. And I had another witness who confirmed that.
Yeah.
I was with you and saw
Those things are
capybaras.
so cool. Yeah. I wish we could have them here. I'd have one in the house right now. I'm not kidding you. They're very cool. They love water. Oh my God. And they're intelligent. They're smart as pigs. They're smart and they're gentle and they're loving and they're sweet. And oh my gosh. Yep.
They're the world's largest rodent, just so people know.
Okay.
Lady I worked with, that's her favorite animal. And I kind of looked at her and I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
It'll lay on you. I'm not kidding. If you're outside and you have one in your yard, it'll come right up and lay in your lap and go, I love you, and not leave you at all.
I've only seen one at the zoo, so I don't know. Okay, moving on. This is a great question from Louise, which I can't answer. Do ETs ever speak of auras around humans and the relevance? I've never heard them talk about auras.
They don't have to. They see them all the time. It's normal everyday life for them. They can tell if you're sick. They can tell if you're happy or sad because we only emit energy, our aura energy, and they see it. I see it.
Oh.
I can see your aura. It's a natural a state of being for me to be in. So yes, and its relevance is it's a form of communication. Your body tells your condition, and it's a handy tool to have. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I can say that a lot of contactees come back from their experiences with that ability. One lady who I did a chapter in my book, Wondrous, talked to a gray named Sen, and she could see people's auras and gave all kinds of healing advice. She says it wasn't her life path, so she ultimately stopped doing it. She was very effective, got all these gifts from people who she basically healed. By telling them, I can see from your aura that this needs work or that, and you need to eat this, or gave them health advice. So I think that is in some way relevant to the question.
Yes.
But yeah, aura is all about health. It's the etheric body is the aura. You've got your physical body, the etheric, and then the astral. And we're not really leaving bodies. We're just kind of moving into them and expanding into them.
Energy has pathways, and we have threefold energy. You're describing it perfectly. It's threefold energy. So your body has energy, your etheric body has energy, and your spiritual body has energy, and they work together for you to be here. Okay.
All right. Oh, thank you, Rick Schatz. Very, very kind of you. I'm trying to keep up with all you guys, and I'm going to do my best, but you guys are moving so fast. The questions are coming faster. Okay. What about the Yellow Book? Oh, gosh. I think that's the one that reportedly, you'll have to remind me, Michael. I think that's the one that was allegedly recovered from a craft. Is that from the Project Serpo book, which I kind of have some questions about in terms of its legitimacy? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't have any firsthand information other than what's out there.
What did they say happened to it? Because now I'm hearing about this for the first time. What are you talking about?
I think that there was a story about a book recovered from a craft, which showed the history of Earth to some degree, and it was the same type of interactive holographic book. But I don't know if I'm thinking about that correctly.
What happened to the book?
It's in government hands.
Well, they don't get anything out of it, trust me. But yeah, yellow is yield, caution, those kind of things. Take it slow. Look for a few minutes, before you leap. Don't just jump over the ledge right now. It's not a good idea. That kind of thing. And that would be pretty much a cautionary book. Yeah.
All right. Lots of questions here. Do you remember the TV movie UFO Cover-Up Live from 1989? I sure do. Mike Farrell from MASH and a bunch of whistleblowers. I think Richard Doty, the disinformation guy. I'll call him that. I probably shouldn't. But he has been labeled that before. But yeah, it was an interesting show during the early 1990s. I think Stephen Greer may have been out there too.
Really?
No. So. I don't know, but it was an interesting show. I've got a recording. I recorded everything on the VHS. I still have a box of them. Okay, moving on. Here's a question from Jennifer. Please, how do we heal ourselves? Ooh, can I go first, Dolly? You can. You absolutely can. Healing comes from many different pathways. ET is definitely one of them. Ultimately, healing comes from within. You can use astral projection to heal yourself. I've documented some 20, 30 cases. If you want to email me, I will send it to you. Not only that article, but how to do astral projection. But healing can be done through a number of different methods. Meditation is very important. Relaxation, also very important. Exercise, eating right, getting good sleep, surrounding yourself with love and nurturing activities, laughter, music, children, communing with nature. All of these are things you want to make time to do and get rid of stress in your life. And you can have, quote, miraculous healings. There's a quote from Seth, of Jane Roberts fame. Miracles is nature unimpeded. And I liked that because I think that that's true. And this is a well-documented medical thing. Spontaneous remission happens all the time. So those are 10 things you can do that can help aid healing. But sometimes we choose an illness to teach us. This is from a very high spiritual perspective. I'm not saying, that this is true for everyone, because I do believe accidents happen and infections and so forth, cancers and all this stuff. But sometimes we do choose a difficult path to teach us loss, pain, compassion, and other lessons that are very difficult, but ultimately are super beneficial. And we'll see when we reach the other side all that we learned from it. So embrace your life and get joy out of each day. But yeah, healing can happen when you least expect it.
Right. And I'm just going to give you the 3 keys that you need to understand what you're doing to start. Okay. The first one is when you need to heal, you need to know what's wrong. And you have to know yourself for that. And that means meditation. You have to start going within, as Preston said. You can't go out without until you go within. And everybody knows what their issues are, unless you're completely deluded, and then you got a problem. But keep a journal. Write down in your journal, what is it and you do one thing a day. And please don't believe that you're going to heal everything in a day. You're not. It might take you months or even years to heal yourself completely. Be at peace about that. It's the journey, not the end, that matters. Okay. So sit down and focus on what it is you want to change, what it is that you want to heal. Healing doesn't happen without change. That's very important. And healing doesn't work without work. And you have to understand that the price of your healing is the work you do to heal. So try it. 3 things. Write it down. Think about yourself. Think about what it is you want to heal. Go back over your life. Think about what it is that you think you've got going on. Write it down. Don't forget what it is. It's right there in front of you every day. And then meditate on it. Let the answers come to you. And to do that, to meditate, Preston can teach you how. You have to let go of everything. You have to be quiet and let the universe tell you what you need to do. It'll walk you through it. It'll take you out. It'll move you through things that you need to do. And just remember, this is a wonderful journey you're about to go on to heal, and it can be joyous. No kidding. And that fits in with the idea that miracles are nature unimpeded, and it's joyous when that happens. So think about it.
Yeah. Also, I know people who got healed by doing past life hypnosis.
Or whatever it takes for you. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, that is another, because remembering your past life can release trauma.
Right.
So yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do to do healing. Huge shout out to Janice Connett. Thank you so much. Love you dearly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're not going to get through all these questions, Dolly. We're going to have to do more Q&As. We're definitely, so this could be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
But Rockstar 8970 Abel is asking, can I ask what brought you two together?
I woke up one day 8 years ago, 8.5, maybe 9 now, and decided that I couldn't stand, I was living 2 lives, okay? I wasn't really allowed to participate in human activity. In other words, y'all see all these movies and stuff, and you all know that all this stuff, this colloquial societal stuff, and I'm like, don't know, because I wasn't there for it. I was absent and not paying attention. I was too busy with them doing what I was doing with them. So I woke up and I realized that the message that really needed to come in, I wasn't seeing. I started looking around one day here, and I'm listening to everybody talking. I'm thinking, why don't they know this? Why don't they know? And I told Talata and Mama both, I'm going to come out. I'm going to talk. And they decided that I needed to be briefed. And I went before others who are wiser than all of us, and they walked me through what will happen. Not telling me the future, but the things that I could look for to happen that I would have to walk through. And it was a long process to get me to the point where I would emotionally and mentally make it through here to do that. I started looking for somebody to talk to, and I was not having a good time. I won't tell you who I listened to or talked to, but it was like, no, these are not truth tellers. And I was very despondent, and Talato saw me despondent. He said, what can I do? How can I help this? And I said, tell me, give me a name. And he said, okay. And he said, his name is Preston Dennett. Write it down, because I'm very bad with names. Numbers I got all day long, no problem. Names, not so much. So I wrote it down on a piece of paper and put it in my pocket. Sure. And yeah. And I wrote him an email. I looked for his YouTube channel, and I went to the very earliest video he ever put up, and it's healing. by the way, about healing and a MUFON symposium. And I realized, oh my God, he's going to tell the truth. He's not going to twist what I say. He's not going to overwrite me. There's no political in him, nowhere. I wrote it. He faithfully wrote me back in under 24 hours. And it just went from there.
Yeah, isn't that cool? ETs know about me. Well, they know about all of us, but that was like, whoa. Like, I had other people tell me that later too. So yeah, that does happen, but that's exactly how we came together.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, moving on. Gosh, I hope we can get through most of these questions at least. Dolly, is that book always with you or on craft for you?
Yes, absolutely. Every time.
Very cool.
I don't need it to be there for me. I can go to the Akashic Library and it appears there for me also. So if I OBE, I can go see it anytime I want. Even if I'm not flying right now, which I'm not, I can go there and hang out with it. So.
Allison says, please cover the dog chapter. I've got too many questions, Allison, but I promise you we will. I'm going to do a whole episode on it, and it can do it much more effectively than we could.
A video on his channel, not here, on his channel. So
yeah. But since Chris Teen asked, how do dogs act up there? Are they nervous or casual? It's so funny. Some, will bark at the ETs. There was one guy from Louisiana who was taken on board with his dog Hunterbone, and Hunterbone went right for the ETs, and they immediately paralyzed him, and he floated around like a stuffed animal the whole time inside the craft. But usually, there was another case where the dog was quite nervous and was sitting in a corner and not really happy about it. But there was another case where the dog was taken on board and healed. And he had arthritis. This is not the Ray Hernandez case, which was another healing, but another one from Oregon. And the dog came back and he was happy as a little puppy. And not only was he healed, so was the man. I've got 30 cases of dogs taken on board. Not all are super happy, wonderful, warm and fuzzy cases. But yeah, there's a whole spectrum of how the dogs will react.
Right. Well, they got personalities. They're sentient and they have personalities, and you have to deal with that, the fact that they are that way, Yeah,
so. Dolly went on board with her pets, and I know other cases.
My Heidi was the first one to go. She was an ex-police dog, and she was trained to be at my side always to protect me and to keep me out of trouble. That little good that did, and she came with me. They would come to get me, and she'd go with me, and she laid down by me at all times. She never left my side, and she actually got to the point where she would just saddle over to Mama and lay her head on our lap, and taught us disembodied, in the vehicle. So, but she knew he was there. He'd whistle at her and stuff, and she, and it was funny, but yeah.
I have to pop this up. Chicks have always been drawn to Preston. It has happened, I will say. Thank you, King James. That's very flattering. Okay, we'll try to keep our answers down to a couple of minutes, Dolly, because that way we might be able to get through some of these.
Okay.
But here's one from Sunny Burnett. Can Dolly talk about the pole shift in sun issue and when she thinks it's coming? I'm happy just to listen to the two of you. Thank you, Sunny. All right.
This is something we can peg down to a day, and I'm going to be very quick about it. We live in a solar system that's being sluiced through right now by an electromagnetic current, field sheet, sheet current. And it happens every 12,000 years. So we're in the tightest part of the current right now, the heaviest part. And what's hard about this is that our sun is in solar maximum right now. It goes through 11-year cycles of solar maximum and solar minimum. Our poles are changing also. That's what happens when we start to go through that electromagnetic current sheet every 12,000 years. And our poles are excursioning, our magnetosphere's down. And so anything the sun is doing while in solar maximum, even in solar minimum, can send an EMP our way that can hurt us. We're electronic people now. We have lots of electricity everywhere. We have digital everything. Okay. And that can knock us off grid permanently and forever. We're talking Flintstones, and it's coming. I can't tell you when. We can give you a date range. And the date range is, and it's going to be sooner because even Ben is seeing that it's speeding up because they watch
right.
And it's getting worse and worse and worse. Talata believes that we're on the inside of very soon. And when he says that to me, he means 2 years, 3 years down the road. And the governments know it, and they're acting accordingly. They also know that ET isn't here, and they're doing crazy stuff because of it, like going to the moon again. They got a neural net up there, they got satellites everywhere. And it's sad to me because satellites are crashing because every time we have a CME in it that hits that particular satellite, Verizon just had a big boo-boo. They said it was software. I'm sorry to tell you this.
Follow the science on this. You can verify this yourself.
Yeah.
Stuff is going on. Country boy, regarding your question, yeah, we did talk about this. It will be in our lifetime. Could be very soon. Could be a couple of years, but I think it's going to happen absolutely in our lifetime.
Everybody feels this happening. Everybody knows something's up. Your body is feeling all these energies and lack of energies and gamma radiation coming in, and it's somewhere in your brain pan you're going, what is this? Okay, pay attention to it. Listen to what you're thinking to yourself about it and research it. Important.
All right, moving along. Penny Rummel asks, Preston, when was the last time or year someone had reported an experience or seeing a UFO? It's dropped down dramatically for the reasons Dolly stated. However, that doesn't mean we're completely alone because people are still reporting telepathic contact, spiritual contact, and just a few months ago, we haven't talked about this, but Dolly does know someone who called her up and said, I had this experience. This was just a couple of months ago, and yeah, she had an honest-to-God UFO encounter. They will come down in very rare
emergencies. They'll pop in and pop right back out. It's a very fast, hey, how you doing? And they're out. Talada will come in if he needs to, very, very fast. But it just depends on what the sun's doing. And opportunity is everything to them right now. And if we have a slow period where there's nothing going on in the sun and everything is geomagnetically, a little bit low, no problem, they'll pop in and pop back out. They will throw drones in and AI in just to keep an eye on us. They don't mind losing that, but they won't lose a life.
Dave Scott talked about having an encounter, I think it was last year or so. I mean, it does happen. It's dropped dramatically.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people reporting stuff in the sky, which is probably ours in a lot of cases, or misidentified. It's dropped dramatically for the reasons we're talking about. But don't worry, they're still watching over us. All right, moving along. Gosh, it's going fast. We'll do our best, guys. Central Wisconsin. Dolly, have you ever met your twin on a ship?
I've met my twin. It was about 3 years ago. 2 years ago, actually, too. It was just before I had to give up flying because I'm staying here. And she came for me, and I met on the ship with her. And it was shocking to me because she has no scars, she has no broken bones, nothing. I am loaded with all that stuff. And so you can tell us apart pretty much. You can see that I got wear and tear and she doesn't. But yeah, it's amazing. I'm a lefty. I'm left-handed, and she's right-handed. We're mirror twins. We're identical. And it shocked me. It took me, Preston heard me talking about it. I was like, I cried for a day, tried to get over myself, and
she told me about it. She got all teary. It's okay. I've heard this from other people too. One guy his mom was pregnant with twins, and as a young kid, he kept talking about his brother. Well, he did not know that he was a twin. But he told his mom that he was. So he had seen his twin.
Yeah, I knew. I instinctively knew I had a twin. I was looking for her, but I never said anything to anybody. And then my mom finally, when I came of age, gave me my hospital records and admitted it, and that blew me
I just
out.
found out that one of the people from my book, Humanoids and High Strangeness, she's like, well, I forgot to tell you, but yeah, I was a twin. She's adopted. And lots of missing twins. I mean, I put a whole chapter on this. We could really get into it.
Yep.
I'm going to do an episode on that on my YouTube channel for sure. Okay, moving along. We're going to do our best to answer all these questions. Let me see. Hide current comment. Fun Talks TV has some advice for me. Your episodes are great. This is about my YouTube channel, but they need to be cut by at least 50%, just a bit faster. Have some ambient music, quiet in the background, just a thought. Yeah, some people like the short ones, but there's so much short form stuff out there. but I really like to dive deep, so I apologize for that, but I do occasionally put up a short one, and I am thinking about a little bit quiet ambient music, but I'm more of a just the facts, wham bam, kind of get it out there type of guy. But I'm slowly learning to improve the production value, and bit by bit, I'm learning. So yeah, I appreciate the advice. Any input is always welcome. Okay, next question comes from the Mookie. Hello, Preston. I want to know, are there relations, or are the angels in biblical stories and the spirits in psychedelic rituals, mushrooms, DMT, LSD, a more higher dimensional type of alien? All right. I'm going to answer it this way. The angels in biblical stories, yes, I think some of these are probably ETs misinterpreted. Not to say that angels aren't real. Done a lot of research into that. I think there are angelic spirits and higher dimensional entities of all kinds.
Right.
And ETs are, some of the angels were interpreted as angels when in fact they were ETs, because I've got some good evidence of that. As far as mushrooms, DMT, and LSD, I am not a fan. I'm going to be honest, because I think it's important that people realize while these, you can have really wonderful, enlightening, and interesting experiences using DMT and psychedelics. As far as I know, this is not genuine contact with ETs. My opinion, based on my research, I certainly don't want to offend people because I know DMT is pretty popular, but that's how I feel about it, and that's what my research has shown. So I would be wary of it. I don't think you need it. I think you can do meditation and have much more satisfactory and extensive contact. Just my opinion. You got any words on that one, Dolly?
ET do not do drugs. They don't use any form of hallucinogenics or anything, nothing, to use their abilities. They look down on it, very much look down on it. So.
Oh, you guys, you like the long videos. Thank you. I know some people like the short ones, so I get that. Let's see. I hate DMT. I don't want to do, it freaks me out. I just don't want to do drugs. Okay. Nobody covers the human mutilations. I have been asked to several times, and finally I dug deep, and I was horrified because I think this is flat out government. Flat out lies, flat out disinformation, and government or secret government killing people and doing heinous things. Right. I found about 10 or 20 cases. I'm going to say most of those are not real. A couple might be real, but they're not ET. My opinion, my assessment, based on what I could find out, take it or leave it. I know there's some other people who feel different. There's a couple of famous cases. I know about them, but that is my opinion on what's going on here. So, yeesh. All right. Here is an interesting question from Country Boy. If God created this Earth, then how many other Earth-like planets exist with ET inhabitants?
Our entire universe is a creation, okay? And ET knows this. We are the mainframe of the universe in the third dimension, and there are planets everywhere. If you tried to sum up in your head how many galaxies there are in our universe, you couldn't do it. It's unfathomable. It's more than the grains of sand on every planet in the universe. That's how many they are. And they keep showing up. They keep rebuilding themselves and doing. Out of that huge astronomical number, there are more than you could possibly imagine. And yes, life is all the way through the universe. And we are related to ET. Every living being in our universe has DNA. And we're all related to one another. You're related to bananas and bonobos. You have more in common with a banana and a bonobo than you do anything else on this planet. Figure that one out. If you're alive and you're biological, you have DNA. And DNA is the code of life throughout the entire universe. We are all the same. They are us, we are them, we are all one. Okay?
Very cool. Yeah, I don't want to knock DMT for you guys who like it. Go ahead, do it, have fun. Me personally, I don't want to do it because I have really wonderful experiences with meditation, but I know some people absolutely love it. Okay, here we go. Moving along, central Wisconsin. Since ET craft flies so fast, how far ahead can they see? They're flown
Yeah,
psychically. They can see into
good
the
question. I like
future.
this question. This is a very good question. Infinitely, they can see infinitely. Talata is a fifth dimensional being who indwells the craft, and his mind is expansive as the entire universe. I cannot fly that craft without him in my head. His experiences are my experiences during flight. He controls that for me because I don't have the reflexes of, as a human to react to how fast I have to react while flying craft. And it's immensely interesting to know what he knows. Yep. In those moments that I'm with him and he's thinking about things, I'm picking up on it. And it is immense, immense what he can see clean across the universe.
All right, moving along. We are running out of time, but we're going to do our best. Okay, Dolly, what can you tell us about metamaterials? Metamaterials being stuff like, the Roswell, you couldn't break the metal and you couldn't scratch it couldn't burn.
Right.
What is the materials on craft? What can you tell us about them?
They are some alloy, and then there's some biologics, and they're created together in layers. And each layer sustains and holds the other one firm on the craft. They are embedded with light technology. In other words, you know what a cuttlefish is, right? It has the ability to array into its skin to look like anything. It can copy anything: rocks, sand, dirt, plants. It just can become anything. And because it can see, and its neurological system can send images to the array of the light cells on its body, and it can mimic that. Well, ETs can do that. And the meta, what you see in crash materials, what you don't know is all of them. They're giving you what they think you can understand, that there's alloy and metal in it, and there's some alchemy going on with how they're produced. But what they don't tell you is that it's interdispersed and layered with biologics, because that craft has to expand. He has to be able to breathe. He has to be able to physically sense things. He has to be able to control every aspect of the skin inside and out, and every component of the craft. It's like you work your own body. You're made of bones and sinew and tendons, and you have lungs, and you're pumping circulation, and you have eyes that see, and you have a neurological system that makes you react to everything and feel everything. That's what that craft is. And you are not told the entire truth about what's come down and what they actually have. They're telling you less than 0.008% of what that entails.
All right, moving along. That's very interesting. Still lots to learn. Central Wisconsin asking, Dolly, how are you disinfected when you board a craft?
My clothes have to come off, and they go into a pile, and they are hit with a type of UV radiation. It's a light shower. And then I am taken and rinsed off with their type of water, and then I'm dried, and then I'm hit with a light shower as well. And my hair has gone through. I have to comb my hair back. I have to put it in a ponytail or braid it. The longer it gets, the more I braid it. And I never wear, as you see me, there is no makeup on my face ever. I've never worn makeup in my life except to get married. I wear no nail polish. My fingernails are pared way back. Everything is on me, stays as pristine as I can possibly keep it, because it would be scrubbed off me, shaved off me, you name it. And I don't want to go there to stay on board. So I'm ready for it when I get on. I just rinse off, lose my clothes to be cleaned up, and then take my UV light shower.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that other people describe the same exact thing. Betty Andreasen talked about how she was put into a room where the light comes down and goes right over her. Dolly described this in detail in the book. Talked to Don Anderson. They put him into a room. This light came all over him, and he's like, what is this? And the mantis turned to him, thought for a second, and said, soap, which I thought was an interesting way of communicating exactly what's going on. But yeah, they will disinfect you because they are susceptible to germs.
I'll say this. If I'm sick, I notify them. I do not go aboard sick ever. I have never gone aboard sick. And I would not put them through that. We come from two different environments. I'm used to this environment. They're used to theirs. And because we're meeting on a craft, we have to respect each other's spaces. Okay. You don't hear about a lot of people congregating in one place on a board. You know, if a lot of people from Earth are in a room, that's one thing, but you'll never see 20 or 30 ETs sitting with you while they're waiting to have their turn to be checked up. It just doesn't happen. Be very careful about it.
All right. Here is an interesting question regarding this ET symbols. Are these, this is from Blind, are these a thing of the mind more than just a button? Yeah, I think to a certain extent, you're right. The symbols are more for us than them, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's because we don't speak psychic language fluently, and because we're not all wide awake. And so we have to have some symbols to assimilate what they're trying to say us or they want to show us. So they use a lot of math symbols too. The higher the science that you understand, the more that you're going to get from them. And when they speak to you, they speak in concepts. We drag things way out. There's a lot of words and meanings for us that are confusing to them. They speak to us in concept. Okay.
All right, moving along. Janice Conant says, since the government has ships and AI robots, how will we be able to tell the difference between them and the real ET? I'll answer real quick, and then you can, Dolly, but under a minute if we want to get through these questions. The real craft are super shiny, no rivets, nothing like that. They have a wobbly motion when they fly. They fly at a sideways angle. And if it shoots at you, it's not real ET. If it's coming at you and you're taken on board and it's all negative, that's probably my lab.
I'm going to tell you why they can't and won't shoot at you. They're in an environment that is shielded by graviton wave technology, okay? They have two fields around them, one close field, the ship itself and inside the ship, and then another one outside of that. And emitters produce these things. If you try to shoot at a craft, it's going to come right back on you. It's going to bounce off the craft and hit you because their shield is that powerful. The graviton wave around it is so powerful, nothing can penetrate it. People think that they can EMP it, scalar weaponry. And that's not okay because A, they have plenty of time to get away from you. They can hear you getting ready to use that technology and they'll leave, okay? There's no way to surprise one. That's rule number one that you should remember. Rule number two is that even if you did get a shot of scalar wave technology off at them, it's the outer environment that would be affected and the inner environment would still be able to go and leave. They can move that fast. When I say 0 to 7,000 or 9,000 miles an hour, I'm not joking. They have no restriction or any inhibition in gravity fields. They go outside it. They go into interdimensional space within half a second, less than. So, okay.
All right. Next question. Rat food. How do you know the difference between astral projection and a precognitive dream? One of them happened recently, and I'm not sure which one. There's no difference. When you have an out-of-body experience, you have access to the Akashic records and a lot more of the past and the future. You can perceive it much more clearly. And for me, my personal experience was each time I would have astral projections, I would have precognition and precognitive dreams. It's essentially the same thing. It's just how we perceive it.
Yeah, your physical mind's trying to make sense out of it. That's why you're a little bit confused. That's another reason to be able to reach your consciousness and have consciousness employ your physical mind in cooperative communication. So, okay.
All right. Michael Kennedy, what is the quote, too scary to share, end quote, information that Tucker Carlson and other UFO journalists speak of? What could be so bad that the government cannot say? Scare tactics, false alien invasion, the false flag, ET's hurting people. That's what they're trying to push. I think that's what they're alluding to. In my opinion, of course, we can't know for sure, but I'm guessing that's what is going on here. Preparation for they're pushing the ET threat narrative when really the only ET threat narrative is to their power structure, their money, their control over humanity, their enslavement of all humanity.
Yeah,
My opinion, take it or leave it.
In a nutshell, very succinctly, and I'm not going to say this to scare anybody. I don't want you to be afraid. Everything happens all the time. Life changes on a dime, and we're at the end of a cycle, okay? We're going to move through it and leave here one way or the other. The governments of this world want this planet. They want to stay here. They don't want to give up their authority on this planet or their control. They have built spaces underground where they think they're going to survive what's coming. It isn't just the Earth that's going to be affected, it's our entire solar system. Our sun is going to micronova, and the impactors that hit us on the planet are going to be severe. It has happened before, every 12,000 years. So the deal is this: they don't want you fighting them when the grid goes down for their space, because there's a period between the grid going down and the micronova where you're all going to be trying to survive before you can come back. And that means if anybody knows where they're at, you're going to be going after them to get that. They don't want you here. The 1%ers don't want you here. And the cold, hard truth of this is that they plan to take you out. And you need to learn how to survive away from them. And we need to learn how to make sure that they don't get their way. It is my huge wish. I pray for it every day. It's better for us and everybody on this planet if that micronova hits us now. I mean, the EMP from the sun, the CME. If we go grid down, they can't touch us. They can't move. We can't move. Nobody can do anything. So you're going to shelter in place and learn to take care of yourself. That's what you should be planning for. That's the good news in this. You can take care of yourself, but you need to know how. Plan, prep, get ready, because it's coming.
All right. We're going to do the next 10 questions in less than 1 minute, because we have to.
Okay. All right.
I wonder if the U.S. government's Project Blue Book got its name from these books. Could be. Interesting. All right.
Thought about that. I don't know.
Why are reptilian aliens here? Because this was their home before ours. They're still here.
Yep.
Oh boy, I'm forever hanging out in that library, but can't for the life of me recall anything I read. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's why I read books over and over again. Preston, have you ever seen an alien world through out-of-body experiences? I did go to the moon, yeah, but I have not been to another planet. Have you, Dolly?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth? Yes, I did, and I don't remember it. I have to read it again. All right, we're almost done. I love your drawings, Dolly. See, I told you.
It reminds me of my kids. Thank you.
Is a guest speaker today? No, our speaker couldn't make it. Do ETs have yield or stop signs? Just kidding.
No. But I'm going to give you information you don't have, okay? I'm going to tell you a couple of names. The
Quickly.
home of the tall grays in the Orion belt, down from it. It's like, here's the belt, the stars, and there's a system that goes down from the belt down there. And they call it Andeomach. That is the name they give their home world. And it literally means the people. Our native people here call themselves the people. Ask yourself why. Andeomach. Okay? I'm going to teach you 3 words today. I keep trying to teach this over and over. Sure we do. We started late. We got a couple more minutes.
All right.
So, okay, I got my hand on the control. Don't worry. Okay, so at, I, at, you, ut, at, ut. And then I use this word every time I'm ready to fly. I say I'm ready, and everybody knows I'm about to start up. And it's atriar. At, I, atri, and then riar. I am ready. I am ready.
I said that once during an out-of-body experience and had the most amazing OBE ever. I will share it one day, but not today.
Yeah.
Okay. Question, did the ETs that are subterranean in the oceans also bug out? Yes.
Very much so, yep.
Dolly, have you ever traveled to Australia during a UFO flight? Please come.
Yep. Went to see the big red rock. I wanted to see it so bad. And I saw the big red rock. Yeah.
What can we know of Galactic Federation claims? Haim Eshed. Not true. I don't have any good reporting on Galactic Federation.
Nope.
Okay. If you want to contact Dolly, contact her through Messenger. Or you can reach out to me and I'll do what I can. Earth's weakening of magnetosphere affects UFOs? Yes, we talked about this. They can't fly here.
They crash.
All right. Dolly, are you still in touch with Dolly in some form?
Yes.
She is, through meditation. Dolly, any good ideas on learning to meditate?
Prepare to meditate. That's the first step in meditation. Decide where, when, and what you're going to do to get into that single point of consciousness. In other words, you're going to give up everything of the day. You're not going to think about anything. You're going to see the blank chalkboard. You need to be comfortable. You need to have no distractions, no sounds, no nothing. And relax your whole body out and lay there and shut up and listen. That's meditation.
All right. Do we still have time, Dolly?
Yeah, 2 more minutes, 2, 3.
All right. Preston, will you write a book someday about UFO and inner Earth inhabitants? Probably not. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of caverns and things like that. I might write about elves and gnomes and kobolds and that sort of thing. But inner Earth, I am not a believer. Our Earth has a magnetic core. It's not hollow like a gumball, but it is very much.
Have any of you ever gone to a deep cave? Have any of you ever gone to a deep cave? Ruby Falls in Tennessee, right over the Georgia border into Tennessee is Ruby Falls. And it's way the heck down. It's 3,000 feet down. And when you go down this thing, you can feel the pressure building in your ears and your head and your whole body. You can feel it pushing you. That's only 9,000 feet. That's it. 9,000 feet. And you're ready to go. I need to leave now. You can't take that kind of pressure. When you deep dive, the lower you go, the more pressure is pushing in on your body. There are places, those guys in the submarine that died, they imploded from the pressure. There is nobody living in inner Earth, period. Okay? Period. You can't survive it. Okay.
But maybe reptilians living in caverns.
Maybe.
Because I've heard something about that. Or Bigfoot.
Yeah, caverns are in the crust. Caves, everything, yeah.
All right. I think that's pretty much it on the questions. If you have, we really do need to close this up, don't we, Dolly?
Yeah.
When will we have another Q&A show?
Well,
soon. We're running one up, but then this happened, so.
Yeah, well, I'm asking everybody for traveling mercies. That's a Catholic way of saying it, but it's also a spiritual way of saying we're going to be traveling this week, and we're going to be flying in an airplane. So please think of us and help. Good thoughts toward us, help us stay safe. And when we come back, we'll have lots to tell. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Stay safe, stay dry, stay warm. Enjoy your life. Be a joy. Meditate. Listen to good music. Have friends over. Help your neighbors. Be good, okay? And I love you, and I know Preston does. And we will see you next week on the Light Gate, coming to you from New Orleans at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM, and the United Paranormal Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. So, namaste.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us.